Well, actually, be knowledgeable about it, be informed, but identify the opportunities there.
So that would be my advice, is just play around with it. One-to-one productivity gains are there to be had. I think a lot of people haven't actually really started to play with how powerful these models are.
Hi friends, welcome to the next episode of Between Me and You. Today I'm joined by Doug Ayres. He's an expert in the ever-changing, ever-evolving world that is AI. And he's going to talk about the impact that it has on both businesses and in particular charities. We're going to be diving into both the immediate and practical applications of AI, things like AI-powered chatbots, but we're also going to talk about the broader, more speculative future. Perhaps trying to keep that relatively positive, but also identifying areas of opportunity, but also areas of concern too. We're really going to explore, as we always do, actionable insights, things that you can apply to your organization and hopefully stimulate some conversation as well. I invite you to join the conversation, share your thoughts in the comments, and let's get started. Doug, welcome to Between Me and You. It's great to have you here. And so to kick things off, could you tell everyone a little bit about yourself, your journey in tech and digital space, and what you and your team at EBM are particularly passionate about doing?
Matt, thanks for having me here. And yeah, it's great to be talking about this topic. I'm fairly passionate about it. I've been working in the space for about 8 years now. Previously, I had a digital agency. That was in 2004 that we set that up. So yeah, I'm showing my age a bit. In 2016, I set up a machine learning and natural language processing consultancy called Filament, and we were starting to work with clients in this sort of new era of AI and figuring out how machine learning and associated technologies could help organizations of all shapes and sizes. More recently, we've been working very specifically in conversational AI and chatbots a lot. And that's obviously seen huge transformation in the last 2 years with the release of large language models from the likes of OpenAI, Google, Gemini, Claude's Anthropic. And we're starting to weave those capabilities into some of the work we've been doing previously with our charity and corporate clients to figure out how we can leverage that technology to automate processes for the most part. Our focus now is sort of heading more firmly towards the non-profit sector. We've been working with quite a few UK charities and started to work with a couple out in the US, working with them to leverage conversational AI. And we've just recently launched a solution that we've built over the last 12 to 18 months called Chat to Impact, which is trying to get conversational AI and chatbot technology into the hands of nonprofits in the right way, which I'm sure we'll discuss a bit more later on.
So what is different to how Chat to Impact is AI powered, but you've put some control or guardrails in place that perhaps can reassure them?
Yeah, guardrails is the word of the hour.
Is it? Oh,
yeah, it's often it's talked about in every sector, but specifically in the charity space around safeguarding as well. Yeah. And what we've done is we haven't just sort of guessed at what we need to be doing here. We've basically partnered with our charity clients to make sure this fulfills certain promises on what we said we could do with the technology, whilst also sort of conforming to the guardrails and safeguarding issues that charities might have. What we've done with Chat to Impact is used AI, let's say AI broadly, because that's many splintered things, but we're using scraping technology to go to a charity's website. We do one page at a time, or we ask the user to scrape one page at a time, and then we look at that content using a model, and we create questions and answers from those pages. And then in Chat to Impact, the answer is fully editable by the charity. So when a user interacts with it, the clever stuff happens with the question. So we match their question. In chatbot terms, that's known as their intent. What are they asking for? And the way they ask that question is called an utterance. There's many different ways to ask directions to somewhere. Show me how to get to. Where is the? Or, I want to order a beer. Get me a drink. All those different ways that a human interacts. And what we do is we use a model to map that question to the closest likely question that the charity has set up in Chat to Impact. And then we respond with the answer that they've created, which also allows them to control tone of voice, also put other information in there that they want to put in. We've made it editable so that they can add links, etc. Put emojis in, whatever they decide they want to do. So in that respect, there's no worrying about the response. What we are starting to implement as well, and we're building this out at the moment, is the slightly more, I guess, ChatGPT approach, where we index the whole of the charity's website, not just one page at a time, and then we use retrieval augmented generation and an LLM, which is RAG, is the term that if anyone's looking up, just put in RAG in ChatGPT or Google, and you'll understand what that is, which helps us confine the answer that is given by the chatbot. But we also, when the system is using that, we cite where it got the answer from, so that the user can then go and verify and be happy with it. So we cite the link on the charity site. So if they wanted to go and check it, they can go and look at it. So that's important, because then it is safeguarding it's not so much safeguarding, but guardrailing the return of the answer, so that it's it's proven and it's baked in fact, not hallucination. And hallucination is when ChatGPT, for example, might make stuff up based on certain questions, which I think a lot of people know about now.
Yeah, and that's the concern that I've heard from many charities of, we're understaffed, or we need to implement a way in which we can help and support our audience in a more flexible way. So they've got questions in the middle of the night about something, and they've developed over the years a massive knowledge base. It sits on their website.
Mm-hmm.
People are looking for answers in a more conversational way now.
Yeah.
So that Chat to Impact seems to really slot into serving multiple people with responses in a natural way. So I am asking about this and whatever, rather than particular simple FAQs or whatever, but purely getting its answers from the resource that the charity or organization has written. Is that right?
Yeah, correct. I mean, a lot of this really has to resolve itself and revolve around user experience. So, and we're going to talk about this later, but this is about knowledge retrieval and knowledge management. And some charity websites that we work with are vast.
Yeah.
And the corpus of information they have around the topic, or the services they provide, or the beneficiaries, and just information around why they exist is vast as well. So the user trying to find that information becomes maybe more than a 4 or 5 click journey.
Yeah.
And with the conversational experience, as you say, it gets you there fast. So there's that part of it around knowledge retrieval, which is, it's the same with ChatGPT. It's why more people are using large language models, these interfaces, to get information versus a Google search, because it's getting very good at well, amazingly powerful. Everyone knows that. And also the other things you can do with it to help you create content or do research on your behalf, et cetera, et cetera. But in the charity context and the way we're implementing it, it's very much one-to-many, a chat interface on charity websites versus ChatGPT obviously is one-to-one. It's you working with the system for your own productivity gains or whatever you might be doing. The other thing we are doing as well is integrating, and we want to do more of this, is integrating to other systems. So Charity CRMs is the obvious one. So what can we do with conversational AI to automate certain processes? A pretty low-hanging fruit, we think, and we've started to build out into 2 CRMs at the moment. I won't name drop them now, but what we are allowing charities to do, we're about to test this with a couple, is because we know it'll work, it's just whether it's of value to them, is updating constituent records for their supporters. So instead of a supporter having to call up and try and get through to someone to change their address or bank details or donation amount or something around data they've stored with the charity, we can actually authenticate through the chat experience. So we can go, well, what's your email address? We'll ping you a 6-digit code, put it into the chat experience. We will authenticate you. We'll pull up your information and you can edit it. That should be a time-saving exercise for the charities. And we've heard that, that wasn't really our idea, quite frankly. It's charities who said this would be really useful if you could do that, because we do spend a few hours a month doing that.
But is there a barrier to it? Are we talking about high level of cost, or how to implement it on their website? Do they ever need a particular website? What does the setup look like?
Sure. The setup, we believe, is really, really easy. So like any other chat widget, you get on a website, it's one line of code. You decide, the user decides which domains, which websites it wants to go on. You can decide whether it's on specific pages or not. You can use it on, you could create one and use it on many different pages. So for example, you might have a campaign page somewhere else that's hosted somewhere slightly different. As long as you define that URL, it'll know, and then you can put it in place. In terms of the cost of it, we've gone about as cheap as we can go without going bust on it, I think. Like in terms of being able to maintain it and provision it and host it, because obviously provide all the hosting, and we've got a team to support it. So it's depending on whether you're an annual subscriber to a license or a month by month, is between £30 and £40 a month, and that includes everything, including the model retrieval and usage. And actually, we've crunched the numbers, and it's significantly cheaper than pretty much anything else out there on the market.
So how many charities you got using it at the moment?
We've got 7 or 8, which is very, very early days, small numbers. And actually, we're quite grateful for that, because we're doing a new sort of release to it off that feedback. So it's, in product terms, it's finding product market fit and tweaking a few things. I'm sure they won't mind me talking about them, but we're working with Northwest Air Ambulance in the UK. They've been brilliant in terms of giving us feedback. They've been really complimentary about how easy it was to set up. We're hoping that once we release V2, we'll go out and be able to offer this to the other air ambulances around the country. I think there's 21 or 22, so there's a lot of those. We've landed our first client out in the US, and we integrate with a CRM out there. So that's part of the sell here, is we're going after, sounds a bit sort of like, we're venture capitalists or whatever, but we're looking at CRMs that we can integrate with, so that we do the heavy lifting, building the integrations into the APIs, so that we can do things for customers of existing CRMs. That's our play. I mean, the technology is useful outside of having the CRM, because smaller charities don't actually quite often have a CRM or a CRM they're happy with. So part of the solution is that you can set it up with or without a CRM integration, so that you can do certain things with it to help lighten the load, hopefully. The other thing I haven't talked about, which I should touch upon, is the analytics, the insights of having a chat interface on a website. What the charities we're working with have found is that they're finding out things from their users that they didn't know. They're getting asked questions in the chat interface that that they didn't realize their website visitors were wanting to find out about or needing to know about or trying to do. Because at the moment, generally, if you don't have something like this on there, you're reliant on contact forms and Google Analytics, which gives you keyword metrics, bounce rates. You've got your Google Tag Manager in there to see goal conversion, etc. But this is actually, to your point about the conversational way of interacting with things, you're actually getting users seem willing to interact in a conversational way, asking questions. And that also informs the charity team who are responsible for content to update information on their site. So charities are going, well, we actually haven't got any information on this topic. We should have it there for other users, including it within the chat interface. So they're thinking of new ways of, sorry, not new ways, but new initiatives for content on their sites.
So that is really interesting, because people make, in any sector, they have to make some assumptions of what they think their audience are looking for, or the words that they're using and all that kind of stuff. So actually, like you say, suddenly it turns out they're really interested in this thing. Okay, we'll produce more information about that.
Yeah. And I think there's another angle to it, is with this kind of solution, whether it's ours or anyone else's, is if a charity does have a campaign running somewhere else or doing something somewhere else, and that's another partnership opportunity we're thinking about, where they might be hosting a campaign on another vendor's site. I'm thinking Just Giving or whatever. Being able to embed that chat experience from their main site into a campaign page, and then have access to lots of other knowledge outside of just the campaign page and the charities, is quite powerful, because you're basically porting a lot of content from their site and the time they spend doing that into other environments.
In the longer term, we've shared a few, your personal thoughts on the impact of AI over the next 5 or 10 years. What's your outlook on, say, the industry, maybe the creative sector? How is it going to be affected and influenced by AI?
Yeah, it's a really good question, and a big one that I've been pondering for about, I think, since the advent of ChatGPT. And even when it first came out, in its first iteration, it was already quite mind-blowing how competent it was at retrieving knowledge and making it sound less cut and paste and regurgitated and sort of conversational in that retrieval. And now look where we are now with, I think we're like 4.0, mini, which is the model name. I think, and I'm seeing commentary around it, is that on the sort of, I'm not totally doom and gloom, but I think, and I know a lot of other probably much better versed and much more in the space in terms of the forefront of the tech. I'm talking like the Sam Altmans of the world, or whoever the CEO of Perplexity is, or Anthropic. The knowledge workers are kind of, they're going to be at a certain level become, displaced. I don't want to use a redundant word, but I have now. I feel like that is going to happen. Obviously, I'm looking at the context of in the UK or the US or in the developed world. We have to bear in mind that this isn't the same problem for countries who aren't driven by service industries like we are in the UK. If you go to other developing countries, their world does not revolve around automation and solutions and knowledge work in massive high-rise buildings. Sure, there's the cities, but in the UK it's everywhere. But where we are now, in a suburb of London, and the work that you do and I do is a service in that way. I think that, and there's lots of offices around who,
I'm looking at the other places, and
you look at what they do and go,
most of us are all providing a service.
Yeah.
Is that what you mean by disrupting knowledge workers?
Yes, absolutely. Knowledge work is getting disrupted. It doesn't mean it's going to be all left to AI. They're always going to be the subject matter experts and the really, really competent professionals who are there validating and asking the right questions of their productivity assistant, their AI. But that comes back to the prompt and someone who knows how to ask of the system to get the right response and know what good looks like. But you're already seeing it in call centers. You're already hearing the news in the US, particularly because they're, I guess, more loud about it, because they're all sort of gung ho about AI and what that means for industries. But they're also saying, well, look, we think in 5 years' time, 20% of those sort of knowledge workers, low level, are not going to have a job because of AI. And I can see that being a problem or a thing. Creativity is beholden to the individual, and as much as a model can come up with ideas and think about stuff, or create a scene, a video scene, and do it in longer and longer chunks. A few months ago, it'd be like the most you'd get in one go was 5 seconds, and you stitch it together with another prompt, and now that's getting longer. But it's still going to revolve around the creativity of the team working on it and coming up with something that's, because otherwise that'll happen. There's no otherwise, because everyone's going to be trying to create stuff. There'll be so much out there, and I can pretty much guarantee most of it will be meh. And then it'll require creativity even more, because people get overloaded with all this AI, video creation and imagery. They'll know it, and then they become numb to it, as much as you do with anything, battered with it all the time. And people are just like, and they start looking for the creativity. They're looking for the craft. And so I think in that regard, it's, creative industries are safe to a degree, but I think it's about even the artisans of their craft.
Then there's some reassurance, and it helps with my business plan.
Yeah.
But we do have a certain amount of production in me&you, and part of that actually, like, okay, that may not be there forever. When we're outputting, like you say, a whole range of applications, but the original creative idea, and frankly, the area that brings us most joy, and adding most value, still stays. And I like that you're talking about sort of the artisan, the craft. We joked about me going back to woodcraft, but it makes sense. It's logic what you say, of rather than a completely fearful approach, we've got to prepare for it. We've had a session recently with my team where we had just to understand about these things, because I now understand that it is as big a industry change as the steam engine. It is that big a change for the world.
One professor out of Stanford said it's basically the AI is the new electricity. It's that important. It's going to power so many things in so many different ways. It's that it is that kind of new driver for how people interface with stuff. So I liked that analogy, just to give the depth of how far it and how important it is. Back to the creativity point, and specifically to what you do and other smaller agencies and their craft, there's no getting away from the fact that right now, for example, people say, oh, you can go and use like a no-code platform like Replit or Lovable or Bolt and create a nice landing page website and hook it up to Superbase or Firecrawl or whatever and make it all work. Yeah, to a degree, not really. Like, things go wrong, and if they go wrong, you have to have a developer in there to know where things have gone wrong and realize whether this is a bloated mess of what's being written in the code by the system. And that also goes through to charity websites and other activity that agencies deliver. There's a need for that human creative intuition and experience to make those things really, I don't like using this word, but pop.
Yeah.
I haven't got a crystal ball for that, but I think we'll figure it out.
No, I mean, I've spoken about, like, I'm an optimist, but I would frame myself as an informed optimism. So it's not blind optimism, you know, and with some of my personal health challenges,
Yeah.
you know, just being optimistic doesn't help results be better. Actually being informed, but not being, because for every industry change, there are those that bury their head in the sand and choose to continue to sell or communicate in the way they've always done.
Yeah.
Just sort of naysayers, or apply fear to it. You know, I fear the future, you know, or this new thing. Well, actually, be knowledgeable about it, be informed, but identify the opportunities there.
And you mentioned things like, you know, festivals and things going on the beach and events happening in real life. There's an economy there. People provide, you know, there's a transfer of money through those things, and there's going to be people needed to do this. There's going to be people spending it there. Things will be created. There might well be more sort of, you know, there's a theme of woodland and woodwork and carpentry, but there might be that, you know, more of that kind of stuff. This we're going to require, there's an economy around those things. And you look at these things, when I say these things, I'm talking about videos, you know, talking heads. And you look at certain things, it's in the video and the audio, you can already tell straight away that it's AI generated, because there'll be a random chuckle in the middle of it, or hands will sort of, you know, flip around doing.
Yeah, this is real.
Yeah,
you know.
but anyway, I will slightly sidetrack there. But I think what I'm getting at here is that more of this will happen. More of as close to in real life will be there. I think in maybe slightly less working from home for the ones who are still, you know, in those spaces that haven't been riddled with AIification. But I am an optimist about other, you know, economies happening.
Yeah. Well, and I like that. I think our last conversation, I might have caught you on a darker day, where, you
I
know,
think I just got off a call with someone actually out in the States. I remember it now, and I was just a bit beaten by it. But I do think about this, and I think a lot of other people do, maybe not as much as me, but I do think about what the future holds. Also, because I've got 3 kids, and I wonder about what advice, not that they very often listen to me, what advice can I give them about career and what they might go into in you know, well, my eldest, you know, 5 years time.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I always think about the future of our kids. It's the next generation. It's how we, you know, it's a real motivator for me as well.
Yeah.
But that, you know, Doug, I think we've steered it onto a positive, truly a fascinating, you know, thought-provoking conversation. We could keep on talking, but, you know, I think we've covered those key points. But what sort of the key message you want to leave with our audience? Something to take away about AI and its impact, whether that's, you know, for the short term or the long term.
Don't be fearful of it. I would think naive to believe that people are still wondering or not playing around with it. I think anyone watching this, or anyone in the UK at least to a degree, who'd be, you know, in that area of service, you know, charity sector, will be playing around with this technology in certain ways. I.e., they will have tried ChatGPT, and they will have heard about prompt engineering, asking questions of these systems to get a better outcome. I mean, look, anyone who's listening who doesn't know a lot about that, either Google it or drop me an email, and I'll have a very open and free chat where because I love talking about this stuff, and I do know a fair amount because I get the privilege of having the time to look into this and read about it daily. So that would be my advice, is just play around with it. One-to-one productivity gains are there to be had. And I think everyone knows that. But if they need help figuring it out, I love personally talking about challenges that individuals or organizations have, and discussing the art of the possible.
And if, Doug, they hear when we were talking about Chat to Impact, and think, oh, actually, that's something that my organisation, my charity might be interested in, how best to get in contact with you?
Find me on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
I mean, it's always nice to being the personal, not just a hello@chattoimpact.com, and you can get to us there. But I'll chat to anyone down the pub.
Well, thanks for chatting today. And also, we'll make sure we put all your details on,
Thank you.
on the YouTube and on the blog article as well.
Brilliant.
Brilliant. Thank you so much for joining me today, Doug. Really incredibly insightful. So that's this for this episode today of Between Me and You. Be sure to check out the next conversation, engage with Doug, chat some more about Chat to Impact and other things. And I hope you found this really insightful today. Thanks. Bye for now.